Okay, welcome guys. Welcome to this session. Today, we are having a session in ANZ D365 FinOps team. This is a user group focused on connecting Dynamics 365 professionals in Australia and New Zealand, but also globally. So I'll just do a quick group introduction and then I will hand it over to Patrick. So first of all, we would like to thank all the volunteers, speakers, and attendees who are working hard and joining these sessions over the weekend to make this group a success. So thank you everyone for helping and supporting us and learning together. Just a quick introduction about this group. So this group is focused on knowledge building and knowledge sharing, and we are available on LinkedIn, Twitter, and various other handles. So you can just search by our name and join us and follow us to stay updated with the new updates. These are few handles which we use to market our group, so feel free to use these hashtags. We are available on LinkedIn. This is the LinkedIn handle, which you can follow and join to stay connected with us. And with the same name, we are also available on Twitter. We have all the sessions being recorded and we upload these videos on YouTube. So you can also search our YouTube channel and view recordings of our past sessions. Today we have Patrick Short from Microsoft, and it's an honor to introduce him. So welcome, Patrick, to our group, and we are really looking forward to this session and learn something from your experience. So I'll just stop sharing, and then I'll hand it over to you to take it forward. The floor is all yours, Patrick. Take it away.
Thanks, Rajat.
Yes.
All right. Just let me bring up a PowerPoint slide here. Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Short. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. Been with Microsoft a little while, 20 years in July. Before Microsoft, I worked for a company called Navision, who used to develop the actual product, which is now known as Dynamics. In days it would have been Navision and Exapta back in those days, AX. I was actually a nav engineer. I worked on the Navision product for many, many years before crossing over to the dark side to AX and 365. So today's discussion is going to be around Dynamics 365 Commerce with a focus on our e-commerce component. So we're going to break this up over the next few weeks. I believe the next session is next weekend. And the session today is going to talk about the first part is going to be around commerce overview, and it's going to be a focus on our e-commerce. We're going to have a bit of a, for those that haven't seen e-commerce before or commerce, Dynamics 365 Commerce, I'm going to do a bit of an overview. We'll run through some PowerPoint slides before we get into the product. Then we're going to look at headquarter setups, so the back end of Dynamics 365. And then the last part of that, we're going to look at the site builder or e-commerce site configuration. Now that's how do I build my B2C site, my business to consumer or business to customer, and how do I build my B2B site, business to business site. So we're going to have a look at those few components today. And then week 2 or part 2 is going to be looking at the features and functionality. So we're going to go through a B2C site. We're going to look at what we can do in a B2C site, how as a consumer or customer would use a B2C site, how we can put transactions through, what's the transactions look like when they go through. On the B2B side, we're going to do the same thing again, but B2B operates differently to B2C. And I'll talk through some of that today when we look through the PowerPoints and we do a bit of an overview and some of those differences you're going to see. The other thing we'll do next week, we'll look at some scenarios around buying online and picking up in store, or buying online and picking up curbside, or in buying online and looking at maybe locker or some other functionality that you can set up there, and we'll talk about that as well. So let's get into it. Please feel free to throw any questions in the chat window or come off mute if you want to talk. And we'll try to answer those questions, or I'll try to answer them. Ratchet knows a bit, so he might be able to answer some of them as well. So please feel free to do that. Right, so what is Dynamics 365 Commerce? So Dynamics 365 delivers that end-to-end retail functionality from the back end or the headquarters, and it connects through an API-driven headless commerce engine. Now, when we talk about headquarters, we're talking about the back-end component. So if you're using Dynamics 365, whether it's finance, whether it's supply chain, or commerce, we're talking about that component. So that back-end piece that we need to set up anyway when we're using B2B or B2C. On the left-hand side here, we talk about a commerce headless engine. Okay, so this is where our API-driven engine, we can connect pretty much into anything. So we're going to connect into headquarters, but we can also connect into other areas, so other ERP solutions. So for example, you might have a back end of Dynamics, but a front end might be Sitecore, Magento, Shopify, or something like that, and that's okay. We can do that. Or it could be the other way around, where you've got Dynamics eCommerce at the front end, and in the back end, you might have SAP or Oracle or something else. So we can do that as well. And obviously, we connect into our normal Dynamics solutions, finance, supply chain, and so forth. So if we think about how we Dynamics itself, or Dynamics 365 Commerce, we support both traditional and emerging channels. When I talk about traditional sort of stuff, we're talking about things like our in-store components. You know, you go into a bricks and mortar store, you might go down to the shopping center or down the street, and you'll see a store and you might walk in and you might purchase something. You walk up to the counter and you want to pay for that item. And that's a bricks and mortar store. So you go up, and from a Dynamics or Dynamics 365 Commerce perspective, we have point of sale or POS, and we have a modern point of sale and a cloud point of sale. And the difference between those is a modern point of sale is something you install on the device, and you can use that. If you go offline, you can continue to operate. Cloud POS just means exactly that. It's connected to the cloud. So if the internet goes down or something, you won't be able to transact. So some stores have a mix. They might have a mix of cloud and modern POS, or they'll go one or the other. When I talk about pop-up stores, you know, sometimes you go to a shopping center and you walk up the middle of a shopping center and you see these pop-up stores. They predominantly would use something like a cloud POS because they don't want a lot of that infrastructure there, because it's just a store in the middle of a shopping center. And it might only be there for a week or a few days or whatever it may be. So there's a number of different options there you can use. Some other things here, we still support the traditional stuff around call center. So someone rings up and says, hey, I want a pair of jeans, a shirt, or whatever it may be, or I want to buy a bunch of things from you. So you can still have that call center, create the sales order in Commerce, and go through the whole process of getting that picked, shipped, and out the door. When we talk about digital, we talk about that e-commerce stuff we're going to get into today. On the right-hand side here, we're still, we can integrate to marketplaces and social and conversational. When we talk about conversational, things like, you know, web chat or virtual agents, most of us have gone to websites, and down the bottom right-hand corner, chat box pops up and says, hey, can I help you with something? Can I offer you more assistance? And, you know, you might ask a number of questions before it hands over to a real agent. Right, so from a customer and business facing perspective, we enable both, right? So we still have that store clerk, and I talked about the scenario where you walk up and you pay for something, and it might be a point of sales there. You hand over your credit card and it goes through the transaction. Might print out a receipt at that point as well, at the point of sale, or when you're up at the counter. So we support all those components. We also support whether it's web, mobile devices, tablet, laptop, computer, PC. We support all those different components. And customer service rep is like the call center, right? As I mentioned before, you can call up and you can go through that whole flow of placing a sales order and everything else. On the right-hand side here, the bots virtual agent I talked about, and that business user buying. So again, you can go through your call center and you might do a business transaction as opposed to using a B2B site, which we're going to talk about later. But you can still do all those components as well under standard Dynamics 365 Commerce. All right, so from a Dynamics Unified Commerce solution, we can combine all this together and it delivers the full omnichannel. So that's from anyone ordering stuff online, and it'll go right through to that person might walk into a store to pick up that item. So that might be a bricks and mortar store. We can ship items out. We can do it at point of sales. We got pricing and discount engines. We've got all sorts of things that we're going to have a look at. So all these components sit on our Azure infrastructure, as most things around Dynamics does, along with our Office 365 and everything else. And what that allows us to do from a retail commerce perspective is the ability to have commerce anywhere. So we could have our back office in one country. We have this concept of scale units, and scale units could be an in-store scale unit to support those bricks and mortar stores. Excuse me, could be a cloud scale unit, which is in the cloud. So it could be at the local data center, so it improves that latencies and everything else. There's physical stuff we can handle. I talked about those pop-up stores in the middle of a shopping center somewhere, so you could do that as well. So there's the ability to deploy and use our commerce solution across global, as some of our customers and some of our stores use. We have some big customers and they'll deploy things depending on where their shops and stores are globally. So if we take a look at a bit of an architecture overview here, hopefully you can see that at all right. It looks a little bit little from my side. But some of the main components up the top here. So if I look on the left here, from an environment perspective, so for those of you who have Dynamics already, you log in through the Lifecycle Service Portal, or LCS, and you might do your administration around Dynamics 365, commerce, and do your headquarters stuff there, and we're going to look at that today. Then there's other stuff around the back office here. You might connect into finance, you might connect into supply chain, and so forth. When we start looking at this scale unit and the headless commerce here, we have a whole bunch of things up here that could be an in-store component. So I mentioned modern point of sale. So that's where you install it on a device, and that might be connected to, your printer and your FPOS or whatever it is, and a bunch of things there. You can also have it on different mobile devices. You have a hardware station that connects to a lot of those peripherals. And then you can have a cloud point of sale, which is someone you might walk around the store, could be a shop manager, and they use that device and that's all they need it for. Typically, you would have a modern point of sales for the cashiers. They would always have those because they would be a cashier or a device where most people walk up and pay for an item. So this probably could be a bunch of them, could be a bunch of lanes, and it'd be a different person logging in each time. From an e-commerce perspective here, this is our e-commerce customer. So that could be a consumer like all of us. So we log into a website. That could be through a mobile device. And we can connect into our site and we start shopping. We start looking for items that we might want to purchase. And it's the same from an e-commerce business perspective. So a B2B site, I could log in and start shopping for items I need. On the right-hand side here, we have our site builder components. So this is where a site builder, a content author, or a marketing person would log into that site builder. And that site builder is a CMS system where you go and build all your components to make your B2B site or your e-commerce site. And that would have things like images, videos, anything you want to put on that site. And also within that engine, you have a ratings and review, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. There's other components here, cloud-powered search, fraud protection, which we won't get into today, and there's customer insights, and there's all sorts of things we can connect into other dynamic solutions as well, along with our Power Platform, things like Teams and all sorts of things. So let's talk about digital commerce. So there's commerce, which is traditional commerce. Then we talk about digital commerce, and digital commerce is that online component of things. So the digital experience for a customer. So when we talk about Dynamics 365 Commerce or e-commerce, it gives you a great user experience. So we have a unified platform. It's, there's a couple of different themes we have out of the box. So we can have on the bottom right-hand side here, a Fabricam theme. There's also an AdventureWorks themes, and we'll have a look at what they looks like at the shortly. Both of those themes are straight out of the box. There's nothing you need to do with those themes. And what they mean is just the way this site would interact when you use it. So as a customer, you obviously wouldn't want the Fabricam theme, you want your own theme. But what you can do is you can deploy these sites very rapidly. Apologize, there's some kids in the background making lots of noise in the rain. You can deploy these environments very quickly. So I can get a Fabricam site up in less than a minute. So it deploys a theme, it deploys all the images, it deploys everything you need to run that site. And what you would do with that site is you go and rebrand that site according to what you require. So a content management system, which I mentioned, which has all the assets and all the videos and everything else that you can use to build your site. From a merchandising marketing perspective, you can put up whatever you want on there. You might showcase things. You might showcase a product. Search engine optimization. So again, someone comes to your site, they start searching on something. So let's say I search on a surfboard. As soon as I start typing, I want it to give me some search engine results. So then it's a quick search for any consumer, anyone coming to your site. I mentioned about provisioning and environment management very quickly, very easy to do. And because you've got a unified platform or platform that you're going to use to do both your B2C and B2B, it's easy to manage. So what that means is you might share images, videos across both of those platforms. One thing we find is, we have customers or partners say, look, and our competitors, right? So, Microsoft's new to the game for e-commerce. Well, we're not really. So we've had e-commerce for a long, long time. I'm sure plenty of people are either gone to our Xbox Live. We've got our Office 365. There's a whole bunch of store, the Microsoft store. So we do know e-commerce. So when we built the Dynamics e-commerce, we actually stole the people from those groups you see on here to come and build the dynamic solution. And a lot of them obviously still here, and we expanded that business. Do we have a question? No, we're good.
Patrick, there are a few questions.
All right, I'll pause just for a sec and I'll jump into some of these questions. Oh, we got a few. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Patrick.
Yep. Is that Mohammed? Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I have a question related to extensibility, which you just explained in the past slide. You mentioned that it is about rebranding the site, which is just ready in a few minutes. So is it something like developing some new customization and new components within the commerce, or it is just rebranding? So can you please elaborate?
Sorry, I should have dug a little bit more into that. Great point. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. So extensibility, customization. So absolutely. So out of the box, you can rebrand it and change it, but you can also extend it, customize it. So you might want something completely different. And a lot of customers do. So great question. And apologies, I didn't dig a little bit deeper into that one. But yeah, absolutely. You can customize it however you like. So we're not holding you to go, hey, you have to follow what we have. You can change it however you like. You can also start from scratch. You don't have to use either of these themes. You can just create your own pages, your own templates and everything and start from scratch. And that's completely up to the customer or the people that want to use the sites.
Okay, so Patrick, is Microsoft using the same extensibility pattern which is using for Dynamics back office or retail, or it is some new stack on which we need to develop?
Yeah, different development technology compared to what you used to. So it's not along the same lines as Dynamics. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what they are because I'm not a developer, but it's a different skills set.
Okay, fine. We will check it.
Yeah.
In the Microsoft. Thank you.
Yeah, on our doc site, there's a whole bunch of stuff on our doc site. Right, just going through these questions, yeah.
So I can read that for you. So one question is from Mohammed. What is the recommendation from Microsoft? Should we use CPOS or MPOS?
Good question. It depends. I know people don't like it when Microsoft people say it depends. Well, it does because it depends on your business. So if you've got a business, and I talked about those pop-up stores earlier, and if you've got a business and you've got lots of those, you're going to go cloud pods, right? You're not going to go, okay, I want to install hardware in every single pop-up store I go to. However, if you have a bunch of bricks and mortar stores, and you've got cashiers that sit there all the time, well, you're going to go MPOS, right? And then you just have to start thinking about, okay, so do I want offline capabilities? What happens if the internet goes down? What happens if I've got a store that's in a remote location and the internet's very flaky? Well, you're not going to use CPOS or Cloud POS. You're going to go with MPOS for sure. On our doc site, there's actually a number of scenarios where you would use some of those, and I can send that through. I'll actually take a note here, and Richard, it's something that I'll send through to you and you can pass to the community. The differences between them and when you would use one or the other.
Sure,
Let me just take a note here.
Another question related to the same post. I read in the blog that Commerce also support mobile application and tablets, all those stuff. So these applications also work on CPOS, or it is separate applications?
No, there's they do support that. They support tablets and stuff because if you have a look, we just released a new MPOS to application. It's actually pretty new. We've actually improved that a lot. There's actually a new one out. I think it was only released maybe a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I can find that as two. All right, next, any more questions there, Rachid?
I think, yeah, there is one question around the languages required for customization. I'll search that and reply that in the chat window.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes, absolutely. I'll share the PowerPoint slides.
Now I don't need anymore.
Oh, we got someone chatting in the background.
Yeah, Zishan, can you mute yourself? I'll try to mute him.
Hold. Okay, so we talked about earlier about the themes. We've got a whole bunch of themes you can use, right? And I talked about the Fabricam theme for a site. So these are modular stuff. They're easy to use templates, themes. You can change them, you can customize them, you can do whatever you like. It's just how they respond to whether how you want to present that to a customer. We have a pre-built library and a responsive design. So it doesn't matter if you're on a mobile device, whether you're on a tablet, whether you're on a laptop or whatever it is. If you're looking at the site, it will respond to whatever you're using. Starter theme packs, this is what I was talking about before. There's a whole bunch of modules in here. There's headers, there's footers, there's product details page. So, you want to highlight something from that site. An ability here, talk about buy online, pick up in store, and we're going to talk about that more as we go through. And it's a bunch of things around how do you purchase items, account management. So when we think about account management, right? So as a consumer, I want to be able to log in and go, okay, I want to look at my profile. I want to see what address I have. I want to see my history of items I've purchased. I also want to see maybe I've got a wish list or something like that. I want to be able to see some of those components. This one here, we also have a recommendation service. So recommendation service is, hey, down here, there's a little bit hard to see, but if I purchase something, let's say I'm buying lots of shoes, you could have like picks for you. So as a user, I'm allowing personalizations. And so when I log in, it says, hey, picks for you. And it might be a bunch of shoes because I'm like buying shoes or surfboards or whatever it may be. So there we do have a recommendation service inbuilt. Now, what we do with our recommendations, we use AL and machine learning, and we're going to talk about that a little bit shortly, but we can have a look at previous sales histories and all those sorts of things. For marketing and merchandising, we can build out our merchandising and marketing page. We can use images, videos, and other tools to showcase what we have on our site. We can use tools to preview and schedule site updates. So we got some tools in here that we'll see a little bit later, where we can have, let's say we've got a winter sale coming up. So we can have set up everything, have the pages and everything ready. We can schedule that. So maybe at midnight, the site clicks over to our winter sale. We can also have our Azure and Bing powered search, and I talked a little bit about search before, and schedule and publishing, as I mentioned just before. So from a machine learning or that recommendation service, machine learning is looking at picks for you, people also like. So again, it's looking into some of that history that we have, items that are frequently bought together. We got things like trending, best selling. We can even have recommendations at the point of sale. So not only can we have it on our website, when a shopper comes to cashier, the cashier brings up the point of sale, that customer comes to the counter, we could have recommendations there as well. And they can be shown on different screens depending on how you got your POS set up. The other thing we have, which you have full control over as a customer, is ratings and reviews. So if I'm a shopper and I've gone to a site and someone's e-commerce site, I'm looking at, I purchase something and go, yeah, that's great, I like it. I can write give it a rating and write a review. Now there's a whole bunch of things you can do around that. You can look at what's been put on the site before it actually gets there. So you have full control. So you might go, okay, I want someone to review the ratings reviews and put up there. You can also respond. So someone might say, hey, I bought this item and it's broken, and they put it on your site. And because you want to show your consumers or your shoppers that you care, you might want to reply to it online so everyone sees it and say, yep, we're so sorry for that. Let us replace the item or whatever it may be, and have that posted there as part of your review. The other bottom thing down there, a couple of things, you can export it. You might want to put it in Power BI and do some analysis on those components. There's also ratings at the POS, at the point of sale level. So at that point of sale level, you can also, so a customer might come up and you might be known pretty well, and they might say, you know, I bought this item off you, it was fantastic. And you might ask them, well, would you mind doing a bit of a review? We can do it right here at the POS. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our B2B, okay? So B2B operates a little bit different to a B2C. So most of us on the call here would be consumers or customers of some sort. So whether we go to a bricks and mortar store or we go and we shop online. A lot of us shop online with COVID. The way it was, a lot of us turned to online shopping. So when we go and purchase something, let's say we want to buy a new pair of shoes, we might buy one pair of shoes and a pair of jeans or a t-shirt or something to go with it. From a B2B perspective, I might be selling something. So I'm buying something in bulk. I'm not going to buy one pair of shoes. I might buy 100 pairs of shoes. So there's some functionality within our B2B sites or B2B platform that allows for those sort of things, quick ordering, and a whole bunch of other things we'll go through. So from a B2B perspective, I mentioned earlier, I can manage both a B2B site and a B2C site all from the same place. So if I'm in Site Builder, I've logged into Site Builder, maybe I'm doing the marketing, I can do it across my B2B site, I can do it across my B2C site. I don't have to log into a different area, I do it all from the same place. There's certain specific feature sets that we use for B2B, and we'll get through those shortly. And it's a very common experience. So if I go to a B2C site and I go to a B2B site, they're very similar experience from both a consumer and from a business perspective. Of course, the content might be completely different. So if I go as a business, you might sell clothing on the B2C site. And then on your B2B site, you might sell, I don't know, tractors or cars or something else. So again, but you can still manage those components on the same place. So what are some of the features that we've got in our B2B? So we have this concept of allowing business partners to submit an onboarding request. Now, you don't have to do that, but we have it there. So what that means is someone comes along and finds your B2B site and looks at it and goes, wow, I really like to on-sell some of those components myself. And I like to be a business partner of the organization I've just come to. So then I can go and have a look at that and I'll fill out a form. It says who I am and what my business is. And hey, I would love to on-sell your stuff. I think you've got a great products. I would like to sell them at my outlets. So when you submit that, it will go through to that business, and the business would have an ability to review and approve that or reject that order. So generally what would happen, you probably have email set up, notifications. A notification would be sent out to the business that's interested in on-selling your items. That says, hey, thank you for your interest in our products. We will have someone contact you shortly. And then you probably, call them up and have a chat to them and talk about how you want to work together and so forth. So you can do that through there as well. So once that has been approved, so you're happy with that business that's been approved, they come through as a prospect, and then you approve that prospect, and whoever puts that through, that form through, they will be automatically given the administrator rights. And what that gives them the ability to do on the right-hand side here is add other users. So then they can start onboarding other users from their business. So as an admin, I've signed up and said, yeah, that's good, but I'm not the one that does all the buying. It could be other people in my business does all the buying. So I'm going to set them up within my B2B portal and they can do the buying. Now, there's a few things you can do there. You can set credit limits for them. You can set all sorts of components in there to say, hey, they're not allowed to purchase over a certain amount. And we'll see that next week. When we do part 2 of this, I'll show you how all that works and I'll show you how to set the credit limits for them. From an ordering perspective, as I mentioned earlier, from the consumer side of things, I might purchase a pair of jeans, a t-shirt and something else. When I'm buying in bulk, the last thing I want to do is go to my cart and go, I'm going to press 5 again, and then I'm going to put in another 10. So we have this ability to create grid ordering. So I'm on selling sunglasses here. So I've already put this in once. I've created a grid order here and an order template. And I'll just come here and go bang, add to cart. And I know I'm ordering 100 pairs of each of those sunglasses each time. So that gives the ability to order quickly, because the last thing is buying in bulk. You want to go through and have to press the plus minus button or put in orders every time. So you can set that up, and that's the order templates. And we'll see that next week as well. We support minimum, maximum. So again, as a business, I might support a number of different businesses. I don't want one business buying all my stock at once. So I might put a certain quantity restrictions on buying orders. So then someone comes to my site and let's say I'm selling Ferraris and I don't want one business to buy all my Ferraris. I want to support all my businesses that I'm dealing with. So I might have an order quantity on that. Another important feature out of their B2B is when you're dealing with another business, generally they're not going to just pay for a credit card each time. They might want to put it on an account. When I'm a consumer, like a lot of us are, when we go to a website, when we buy something, might use PayPal, whatever it is, or we use our credit card, you would do that as a consumer. But as a business, we have the ability to put it on an account. So then it might go on an account and then I might pay later. So as a business, I bought my hundreds of pairs of sunglasses, $10,000. I just put it on my account and then I'll pay it at the end of the month or whatever the agreement is between the businesses. Excuse me, just grab a drink. From a self-serve perspective, you can log in to a B2B site. You can see all your order history across the whole organization. You can we support the request for an account statement. So the account statement could be at the organization level, that could be at the invoice at the user level, whoever that user may be. And we also support payment of invoices from the B2B site. So from a B2B perspective, instead of me ringing up every month going, hey, I would like to pay this invoice, can I pay it over the phone? They can go to the B2B site and just pay that. And then we integrate into other areas, and one of those is sales, leads, opportunities, and so forth. So you can do quotes and stuff coming through Dynamics 365 for sales, and there's more integration and stuff coming. All right, so I'll just stop there for questions, and I'll stop presenting because I need to go and do share my whole screen to go to Dynamics. Questions, just scroll back up here.
So Patrick, do you want to take a few questions now or towards the end?
Yes, yeah, let's take a few questions, Rachi, if you've got a few there.
Yeah, so one is from Satya. Satya is asking, can this work like Amazon, eBay portals where we can list vendors or other businesses who can directly ship to end customers?
Oh, good question. No. So hang on. So let me run through that scenario. So if I purchase off a site, then you want to ship the items directly to a customer? I'm just trying to get the scenario right.
Yeah, Satya said, Patrick. So scenario is basically direct to the customer, right? Like it's a normal scenario in Dynamics, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't, the ship to doesn't matter, right? So are you from a B2B's perspective or B2C? Satya?
It can be anything. Actually, it can be B2C as well. Let's say in Amazon, you list all those vendors, and any vendor, like you can buy from any vendor as a customer, right?
Gotcha. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, so I'm just thinking, yeah, so you can say on the right, select this vendor. No, that functionality is not yet, because at the moment, the B2B site's going to be linked to that business that's running that e-commerce site.
Right. So basically, you're shipping always from your own stock.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Any others there?
Yeah, there has been a good discussion in the community, in the chat, around the new app which is released, which is like a hybrid store commerce app, which is merging MPOS and CPOS. So yeah, people are talking about it. We'll see if there is any question towards the end, but that is catching a lot of interest.
Awesome.
Cool, thanks. Yeah.
All right, so let's go. All right, so for those of you who don't know Dynamics, let me just do two things here. I've got two lots of environments running here. So this is Dynamics in front of you here that you see on your screen. So I've got two screens in front of me at the moment. So this one here has everything. So when I talk about Dynamics 365 Commerce, at the moment, what you're seeing is Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations with everything. Supply chain, finance, you look on the modules here on the left, you can see them all. If I have a site that just has commerce, and I'll just bring this over. This is commerce. So you can see the difference here, right? These are my modules. I've just got commerce, and that's all I have here. So let's take a look at what it takes to build an e-commerce site. So I'll just jump here for a sec. This is one of my e-commerce sites. So this is out of the box. So one of the first things we need to do is most people would know LCS if you have Dynamics. If not, that's okay. So I've deployed my Dynamics 365 for commerce. In here, then I've deployed what's called a scale unit. Now, this scale unit is a cloud scale unit. So remember when I was talking through the actual PowerPoint, I was saying you can have a scale unit in the cloud, which is in a Azure data center, or you can have a scale unit within your store. Now, within the store, it's a latency issue, right? So do you want quicker? Have you got problems connecting to the cloud? Is your internet a bit flaky? So then you would look at sort of the in-store components. So at the moment, I've got a scale unit. And then as part of this scale unit, I've deployed my e-commerce components. That's just refreshing. Just make sure I've got both up and running here. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question related to a scale unit. I see for a customer, he had 2 scale units. So what is the purposes of multiple scale units?
It would depend. So the customer might have one scale units install or cloud scale units. So they might have a deployment across different countries, or they might have very high volumes of transactions.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, so in here, this is our scale unit. This is the e-commerce component. So in here, you would see a site builder, which is where we go and do all our components about building our site. So if I open that, these are the sites that I currently have. So I've got a Fabricam, a B2C site, and a Fabricam B2B site. And this is another site I did a site copy. So it gives you ability to create many sites. I've got other ones where I've got, 10, 15 sites down here. Now, they could be different languages. They could be for different parts. I might have 5 different parts of my business. So I might have 5 different sites. So it's completely up to you as a business, how you want to operate. But from here, I can manage these sites. So if I go to B2C, this is my B2C site. Before we get to that component, we're going to go into headquarters or into Dynamics. So this is Dynamics 365 Commerce, and it's just showing the Dynamics 365 Commerce part. Now, when I talked in the PowerPoint slide about traditional and merging or that e-commerce component, I'm just focusing on the digital component today. But you need things set up in the back end to be able to have a B2C site or a B2C site. So what do we need in the back end? So the first thing we're going to do is we have a concept of channels. Now, a channels can be an online channel. A channel could be a bricks and mortar store channel. It could be a call center. So if I go down here, you can see online store. So everything that's going to show on my Fabricam site here needs to come from Commerce or from Dynamics headquarters. So if I go to the one that I'm looking at here, you see I've got a B2B, but I'm going to go to Fabricam Extended. And this is where I set up my online components. So this is my online store and some things in here which are important, obviously legal entity, which legal entity am I working in? It's a B2C site. Where are the items going to come from when the items are purchased, anything to do with the online store? Now, again, I might buy online and pick up in an actual physical store, and that's okay. We have default customers, because not every customer is going to be a customer that you know. So we just have a default customer set up, right? So then you can just push the orders through. They might come to the POS, go, hey, or they might buy it online and they guest checkout. They don't want anything else. They don't want to sign up. So you would have that set up as well. Over here, emails, notifications, right? Again, what sort of notifications do you want to send out when someone's using your e-commerce site or your digital site? Do you want to send something out when an order's been created? What about when it's shipped? What about different components? What about if you want to issue a gift card or whatever it is? There's all sorts of things you can do around notifications. And if I just jump to here, if I look at my mailbox here, this is an order that I've shipped. So that was the notifications once I've gone to my e-commerce site. Where it is here somewhere. Here we go. This is what you can set up. So this is an automatic notification. Obviously, haven't set it up correctly, but you get the idea. So then it's automatically sent out to your customers. Say, hey, thank you for the order. This is your order. It's going to be shipped to you. Mode to delivery. If it's going to be flown to you, is it going to be a truck or whatever it may be?
So Patrick, that format is customizable, or we can add or remove some columns or
The email notifications?
Yeah.
Oh, you can change it however you like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just out of the box stuff. So you can go in here and you can change the template, change it however you want to change it, add it completely. So the email messages here, completely up to you. You can upload your own, obviously your own branding and everything else.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so we jump back to our online store here. Some other components here, which is important down here. This is my payment connector. So out of the box, we use Adyen payment connector so we can push through those orders. You can just use things like PayPal. There's a whole bunch of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's on our doc site around payments and what payment options you have. There's lots and lots of things coming, and we're forever changing that as the world changes and there's new things that come out. Up the top here around our channels, some important components up here are assortments. Now our assortments are what items are we going to sell? What's the things that we're going to sell on our online store? So this is the one here. So anything that's in here, these are the items that I'm going to sell. So I go here, I've got all my shoes, accessories, women's wear and so forth. So those are the things that I'm going to sell. What products am I selling? Okay, some of these are in categories and we're not going to get into that. Other things around here that we have to set up for our online store. And you saw just before we were talking about how do we get the items there by truck and everything else. So our modes of delivery are very important. So what are these modes of delivery? Do we allow in-store pickup? Okay, as a shop or as a business, are we going to allow people to come to our store and pick up the items? You know, we got just out of the box standard overnight. That could be a trucking company or whatever you use. You might have a guaranteed delivery, curbside pickup. So with the new world of COVID, right, that contactless touching, you might offer curbside pickup. So when a customer comes, they could get a notification, or you get notification as business, say they're in the car park, and you go out and put the item in the back of the car, or you might have your scanner in your hand. You might scan a barcode they have. You put the item in the boot and off they drive away with the item. So other things, payment method, obviously important. What sort of payment methods are you going to allow as a business? Do you allow cash? What about loyalty? Do you have loyalty customers? What happens if they're loyal? Can they use points? Can they pay for something with points? Absolutely, you can do that. Types of cards. They're credit cards, you might have American Express, Visa and so forth, all the normal ones you would expect. Gift cards, do you allow gift cards or do you issue gift cards? So again, all those components you need to set up. All right, so there's some of the components there, just the back end that we need to set up. Let's go and have a look at Site Builder. I'm just conscious of time at 10 minutes. So let's have a look at the Site Builder, so the actual site that we're going to build. So if I look here at Fabricam site, this is my e-commerce site. And you'll see over the right-hand side here, I've got site and I've got business and consumer. So if I hit my business, I've gone to my business site. So again, I would only be able to log into my business site if I'm an approved business user from Fabricam Business. You can see the look and feel of those are the same. It's just the way I've set them up. You can set them up completely different. And for those of you who want to look at some of our sites that don't have access to Dynamics, that URL just there, you can actually punch that into your own PC And this is a publicly available site that you can go to and start looking. Now you'll notice this is the AdventureWorks theme. So what I'm showing you here is the Fabricam theme. This is the AdventureWorks theme. It's just a different theme. And what that means is the site just operates a little bit differently. So if I go surfboards, that's a smart search, right? It's going to start going, okay, you want anything that has surf in it. I'm going to bring these things up. So you can absolutely go and have a look at this site yourself. You can actually sign up, excuse me, use a real email address, obviously, and then you can sign in and you can purchase items. So what I mean by that, so if I go surfboard here, I'll just go any of these surfboards. I select something. Add to the bag. So when I do this and I see the look and feel of this, add that to a bag, that's where the theme looks a bit different. So this is AdventureWorks themes that slide in from the side. When I go do that here, let's go and buy a hat. Because it's raining in Brisbane, so I obviously need a hat. So you can see the look and feel, and that's that themes I talked about. You see this is different, right? So the AdventureWorks themes are sliding from the side, and it's completely up to you as a business how you want to look. If you want to use one of our themes, you can, or you can use something completely different. All right, so if I go back to our site builder, so this is our site builder. So if I go to pages, so when a consumer comes to your website, this is your home page. So let's go and have a look at my home page. I've got a few site builders up here. This is my home page. And I can come and edit anything in here on my home page. That's a difference. That's my other site. I think I've gone to a different site. Let's go here. The e-commerce site I was on. There's been a few different sites today. This is one I've edited. So the Fabricam one you just saw before, this is one I've changed. So if I go to site builder, you can see down here the things that I've changed on this site. Okay, so this is a carousel. So if I talk about my site at the moment here, this is one I've been editing. We have all the components up the top here you would expect. So we have our navigation, which comes from Dynamics, by the way. So if I jump back to Dynamics, jump back here, search. Search is a bit slow in Dynamics, but the commerce product hierarchy, when you look up that, it's going to pull through the components that you see here. So if I've got action sports and so forth and whatever links underneath them, that's what you can set up. So if I go back to site builder here, it's really easy to edit anything in our site builder. So let's say I've got this picture here. Actually, it's got new arrivals here. I'm going to change that heading to let's ski. Okay, and save that. Now, when I'm editing these things, I can preview things before I actually make them to my live site. So at the moment, you can see here, if I go to the ski one, it's still saying new arrivals, but on my preview site, it's saying let's ski. So it gives you the ability to go, okay, yeah, no, I don't like the look of that. Yes, I do. If you're happy with that, you go, hey, I'm good. So let's finish editing, finish that off. And now I've got to publish. It says, what do you got to do? I've got to publish. So I publish that and I go to this site here, this one here, which is saying, let's ski. Go back to my live site, it's still showing that. If I do a refresh, it's now let's ski. Okay, so it's pretty easy to change things. So if I look down the left hand here, publish groups, I mentioned this earlier. You could have different publish groups. Maybe you have a winter sale or something else where you can use pages, different pages. We have products. What products are we selling? When I talked about assortments, these are the items that I'm selling on my site. For this site here, I've only got one. I'll just jump to this site because I've got heaps on here. you can see all the different things I'm selling on this side, right? So I've got menswear, I've got lots of shoes and everything I'm selling on my Fabricam side here. Oops. Fragments. So fragments are just, you know, if I change something, when I go to a website, right, and I've changed my page, I might go to, let's go to sunglasses. The header and footer components stay the same across. So we set them up as fragments. And that means if I make a change here, it goes across all my pages. Okay. Media library, I mentioned. Different things you can save here. You see the naming conventions. So if you want a different picture to look differently, so when a user selects a size, it might change the picture. So for example, if I go to my shoes here, let's go to these shoes will do. You can have a default picture that comes through, or you could have pictures depending on what you choose. So if I go here quickly, pair of shoes, I'll go wide, but let's say I click black instead of brown. So what happens is it goes, okay, well, you selected black, so I'm going to change that picture depending on the user selection. All right, so that's media URLs, which is pretty straightforward. You know, the different pages, templates. All pages are created from templates. So you might have a marketing one, you might have a checkout one. It just depends on how the page you want it to look and feel. You can have different layouts. So you might have different layout depending on the page, depending on what you're doing as a business. There's the design stuff as well, which I won't get into at the moment. Audience, you could have a different audience. So depending on their device they're using, so let's say they're using an Android device, you can set it up that they're going to show certain things depending on the device they're using. You can go as far as, you know, a certain person's logged in and I love dogs. So show me things around dogs if I'm selling dog components or pet supplies. If I log in and I'm a cat person, I don't want to see dog stuff. So you can set up different audiences so depending on what you need. All right, 2 minutes ago, I'll stop there. Just in case there's any questions, I'll stop presenting.
Patrick, I have a question related media library.
Yes.
So these products are coming from back office, or we need to upload it to site builder?
Yeah, so if the products are coming from the back office, you can use the same images from there, or you can create new images. But again, from the e-commerce perspective, we have certain trying to think of the name now, naming convention, sorry. So
Okay.
we have certain naming conventions, as I mentioned before, right? When I was looking at the shoes, the naming convention says when I selected black, it says bring up this image. So I have different naming conventions. I might have black shoes size 10, then I might have a different image for black shoes size 8. So there's different naming conventions depending on what you're showcasing. So it's important to make sure that media library is up to date. And the important thing about that media library, you might use that across your B2B side as well, right? You might use it at B2C, but also B2B.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Now there's a lot in that. I know I've whizzed through that pretty quick. There's a lot in the e-commerce stuff. So next week we're going to have a look at some of the functionality, some of the cool stuff you can do. For example, like pickup times. So if I have a business, I don't want everyone coming into my store all at once. Maybe curbside pickup. Maybe I'm going to allow a couple of people within an hour to do that because I don't have the staff. So we're going to look at some cool stuff next week and also the B2B stuff.
Thanks, Patrick. There are a few questions in the chat window. I can
yes, please
call them out. There is a question around, from Mohammed, can we use Dynamics Commerce while the back office finance and operation is down for a package deployment? Or does it impact our online channel?
Through LCS. So if you're creating any customizations, doing any packages, this evergreen world we live in, right? Because you've got to keep everything up to date. It's exactly the same.
So we deploy through LCS, but if I'm deploying in my back office and my back office is offline, will it impact my online store, which is like online channel, the commerce channel?
No, and if your scale unit goes down.
Only the scale unit goes down. Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because everything's through there. When we maybe it's somewhere down the path, we do a full architecture if it's what everyone wants to get into, but it gets a bit technical. But again, a lot of the POS, the e-commerce stuff connects into the scale unit. So if the headquarters or the backend's offline, that's not going to affect your e-commerce. It's just going to affect orders. That you won't be able to get orders through.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. There are a few more questions. Do you want to take them or
Sure,
otherwise?
absolutely. I'm okay, as long as everyone
Okay.
else is okay.
Cool. Okay, thanks. So there is a question from Ashwin. This is regarding accessing the retail APIs using Postman or other applications. So the question is, what is the bare minimum setup in Dynamics? Do we need to set up a CPOS to access APIs? My view is not, but we have shared some links. But Ashwin, feel free to unmute yourself if the
Yeah,
chat
there's
discussion is
on
not
the doc
answering.
side, there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
APIs that we release that you can have access to, and all that's through the headless commerce, right? So if you want to, as I mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint slide, you could have a different backend. You might be using e-commerce from us, but your backend could be SAP, Oracle, whatever it may be, or it could be the other way around, using Dynamics at the backend, Shopify, or something else at the front end. It just depends on those connections. It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, the question was basically around, do I still need to set up a store in my HQ for that, or can I just get by with just setting up a call center?
No, that good question, but the answer is no. So you have to set up the online store. So when I was showing you that online store and I'm talking about assortments, payment methods, modes of delivery, when you connect your e-commerce site to headquarters, those are the things that flow through to your e-commerce site. So when we talk about pricing and discount, we didn't get into that today because it's quite a deep conversation. So let's say you saw that maybe at the banner at the top of the thing saying, buy 2 pairs of shoes, you get 25% discount. All that's set up at the back end in Dynamics 365 HQ in headquarters, and all that's got to flow through. So you do need to set up an online store.
And that cannot be done at all from just the call center?
Now, call center is separate again, right? So when you log into Dynamics 365 Commerce, that will give you access to the online store and all the bricks and mortar stores. Then if you want to use call center as well, so let's say I've placed an order, I might call up and might push a sales order straight through the call center component. You can do that as well. It just depends on the scenario. You still have to set up the online store.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick. Just one last question from Islam, which is around how do we change languages on pages? So if you need Arabic beside English, is that an option?
Yeah, so really good question. So just 2 seconds, let me share my screen again, and I'll go back to AdventureWorks. So I'll just get out of that. It can absolutely. So you can set it up at your online store level. If up the top right-hand side here, if anyone wants to put in that URL address, up the top right here, we've got the sites. And when you scroll down here, it's got all the different languages that you can set up that we've set up. So you can select different languages here, okay? Now I'm not going to select the different languages because I'll have no idea what it says, but you can select the different ones here. Also the other thing you can do from here, oops, apologies, is there is the ability to go to a B2B site. So if I go up here, there is a business site, AdventureWorks/business. So again, these are sites that you can use yourself. You can go to, you can sign up, you can use them, you can purchase items. We have a default credit card you can use. So when you go to checkout, it will say, please use this number with this security code, and it will allow that order to go through. And then you will get the email like I had, like this, to say that you've purchased something. Obviously, you didn't really purchase it and you won't get the item, but it gives you the ability to do that.
Thanks, Patrick. Would be good if we can get those items also as promotions.
I ordered like 50 surfboards one day, and it was like, I don't know, $10,000 or something. And people are like, you're pushing that through, and I'm going, yeah, it's only a dummy card. It's all good. So you'll see if you want to sign up and use those sites, please do. You're more than welcome to use those sites.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Really appreciate this. I think this session has given us a very good understanding of the whole architecture and capabilities, and very good Q&A by the participants. So
Yeah, fantastic questions. Some really
Yeah.
good questions. Next week you'll see me push through those orders. So in the next session, I'll show you how to use that dummy credit card and how you can push through those orders yourself. And we'll look at some of the cool stuff you can do both B2C and B2B.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Looking forward to see you all next week again. So guys, please join us and register through the meetup link. We keep posting the updates on LinkedIn channel. Any closing remarks from anyone, or if anyone is using Commerce, want to share some experience? Otherwise, we are happy to close. I see we have few people who have a good experience in Commerce. So maybe next session, Patrick, towards the end, we can have some airtime for people who have experience on Commerce and want to share some feedback. Yeah,
it'd be fantastic. We loved hearing from the community. It's fantastic. And I love how many people turned up. Thank you. Thank you everyone for turning up. Fantastic turnout for a Saturday. Very, very good. Thank you very much for coming along.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. Yeah.
Thanks all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.